Did this need to be turned in? No. Okay. That was Kelly doing last week after the election. What's that? Yeah. What's that? Oh, he's not. He's supposed to be. Oh, yeah.
Who's supposed to be?
And Ruth. After the,
Oh, yeah.
he's supposed to be sworn
So
in
what's
this week
that?
after his canvas.
I think it's a statute.
Ask her if she'll
No, I just got some questions on that bid opening.
Kelly, could you plug me in? Do you mind? Thank you so much.
Tell me the truth.
Yeah.
What are you doing there? Oh, do you? Awesome. We didn't realize that was happening. Well, that's emails.
We have commissioners check in.
Good. Awesome. Yeah.
It's kind of funny when the county attorney
I'm back when you were
doesn't know what he's
kids.
supposed to be doing or started.
Hmm?
It's kind of funny when the county attorney doesn't know what he's supposed to be starting. Piss me off.
I'd like to call the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 to order. Clerk, can we?
9 present, 3 absent.
9 present, 3 absent. Please note that Commissioner Sorge, Commissioner O'Neill, and who else would mention? Oh, Commissioner Morgan are absent from tonight's meeting. So Commissioner Thatcher, could you lead us in the prayer and the pledge?
Fellow commissioners, Almighty God, we implore you, Look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which so greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll move on to any public comment on any item that is on tonight's agenda. If you'd like to speak on any item on the agenda tonight, please step forward, say your name, address, and what item you'd like to speak on. Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the November 6, 2024 meeting. Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I would make a motion to approve the minutes from November 6, 2024 regular meeting.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the November 6, 2024 meeting. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay. Motion passes. We do not have any items that are not addressed on tonight's agenda, so we'll move on to the Chief Executive's report. The first thing I would like to do is I would like to thank County Attorney Fyvie. Today, County Attorney-elect Enruth requested the court to offer an order to allow for him not to start until after December 31st, and so I want to commend County Attorney Fyvie for stepping up and saying that she would cover that through this time. We so appreciate her guidance and staying with us for the next month. And so I personally want to thank Kelly for doing that for us. So thank you very much. The next thing I want to address, I know that everybody wasn't here, but the canvass of the election was yesterday. Throughout it, we got the results in, and at the end of it, we were told, at the beginning of it, we were told there is going to be a recount, and the number 9 and 10 of the study commission were within 2 votes, so there will be a recount of that, and I believe that we started that. I'm not quite sure how far they got today, but I know that will continue over the next 2 days on the canvas of the study commission on those last 2, or the last 1 position on the study commission there. So that'll happen, and that was by law. I don't know if the last 2, I know that they both said, they really didn't, the other one could take it if they wanted, but by law, because it fell within that percentage, that they were required to do the recount. So it's a heavy lift for our clerk and recorder's office, and I've got to thank them for the yeoman's effort that office has gone through this last year, and the hard work that they put in. So to all those out of the clerk and recorder's office and Linda's office there, I want to thank them as well. On Monday, the EPA started their public comment period about the lead level dropping to 175, which will affect about 7,000 more properties and an extensive more area. We as Butte-Silver, I commented there that we will be sending in public comment about that. We have concerns about the length of time that is proposed, the amount of properties that are going to get cleaned during that time. It is a positive for us, and 175 is a significant drop for Butte to get there. And I know that there has been some people saying that no amount of lead is good, and we agree that no amount of lead is good, but we are on, and it's one of the reasons why mining is so rich in this area, is that there's lead that's naturally occurring in our soils, and to remove it all, I don't know if that's even practical, but I know that we want the most stringent cleanup that we possibly can, and we want to keep moving forward. And so that's going to be our position, is keeping the cleanup going, keeping it moving forward, and supporting the efforts that we've been doing with the RMAP program. And we want to encourage those people that are in those areas to make sure that they are calling in and asking to get that sampling done, and we're going to be requesting robust sampling efforts during that time. And so we will be bringing all of those recommendations to this council, so you know what we're going to send in for public comment ahead of time, and then so that you can weigh in as well if there's things that we want to, as a council, address in there that we may have missed on the comments that we're doing for locally for Butte-Silver Bow. So we're meeting with our RMAP program and Eric Hassler with the Department of Reclamation and Environmental Services and his team, along with Water Environmental Technologies, to make sure that we're addressing all of our concerns here. So more to come on that, but a lot of positive things happening and moving forward with things in Butte. So I'm going to close out the Chief Executive's report, and we will move on to Section 1, bid openings, public hearings, and or presentations. We have one bid opening today, and so County Attorney Fyvie, do we have proof of publication?
Chief Executive Gallagher, there was proof of publication for the request for qualifications, and that is in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Fyvie. So item number 1, communication number 2024-520. And G. Mulligan, Public Works Budget Manager, requesting Council Commissioners schedule a RFP opening for November 20th, 2024 for design build for the courthouse windows restoration replacement project. And it looks like we have Buildings Manager Sullivan with us today. So welcome, John.
Thank you, Chief Executive and Council Commissioners. So this isn't a actual bid. This is a request for a proposal which followed the RFQ qualifications for a design build of the window replacement. We did pre-qualifications off the RFQ. All 5 firms that had submitted the RFQs were qualified to submit RFPs, the proposal for this. We have a firm number of 500,000 for this. It's been designated as 500,000, so there won't be a proposal opening. Just read aloud at council what the firms were that submitted. The first one was Jackson Contractor Group out of Missoula, Montana. Second one is Custom Construction out of Butte. Third one is Time Key Enterprises out of Kansas City, Missouri. Fourth is Langlis and Associates out of Butte. And the fifth one is Markovich Construction out of Butte.
Okay. Do commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Appreciate you being here. If it's a $500,000 job, why aren't we bidding it?
Commissioner Fisher, Buildings Manager Sullivan.
So it technically is a bid, but it's going to be a multi-year, multi-phase project. We have a stated amount to spend the first year. How we get from point A to point B, or where we start and where we finish, isn't 100% defined. It's on a best value program. So we're going to allow the firms to propose the best way to start, where the best bang for the buck comes in, and move forward from there. We have a selection criteria, 5-tier selection criteria to grade these firms.
Follow up, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you again, Chief Executive Gallagher. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. So what is phase 1? What is the amount of phase 1?
The amount of,
Commissioner Fisher, Building Manager Sullivan.
Chief Executive and Commissioner Fisher. So the first part is it's defined at 500,000. That's where we're starting. That can be engineering, design, testing, and installation, depending on where that ends up.
Do you want to follow up, Commissioner Fisher?
Thank you, Chief Executive. Once again, I'm confused. It says it's under the bid item, bid openings in the agenda tonight. And the first one said it was an RFP, and then an RFQ, or an RFQ, then an RFP. But why would we, a project of $500,000, why wouldn't we bid that out and get the best bid? And when I look at the scoring sheet here, you know, the scoring, if you add the numbers together, I don't know how this works out, but when you add the three numbers together down the line, none of them come out to the same number at the bottom that the three numbers add up to. And the other thing is it shows up here that one guy says, Jackson Contract Group, excellent staff experience, and down the bottom it says no reference included, no experience, or something like that. So how do we decide? I mean, I see the committees like Steve Hennick, architect, John Sullivan, you, Jim Bitt, I know it's Carpenter, and Kathleen McCourt, and Shelley Cleverly. Is this the crew that actually picks out who does this?
Commissioner Fisher, Building Manager Sullivan.
Thanks, Chief Executive, Commissioner Fisher. So yes, correct. That is the crew that we have on here. We have Steve Hinnick as our architect and engineer, Kate McCourt for historic preservation, myself, and John Bish. They're the five that are on the committee.
Okay. Follow up, Commissioner Fisher, and then we'll go to Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. And looks like the scoring here is custom construction 25.6, Jackson Contractor Group 25.5. But when you add them down, they don't add up, but I don't get that. I guess I don't understand with this process, spending this amount of money, how do we get around the $80,000? I mean, I just don't get all this. It's new to me. If anything over 80,000, I thought had to be bid out. We're talking $500,000 over 5 years. That's still $100,000 a year. So I don't know why we're not bidding it. Thank you.
Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. You've done a really good job explaining this, but I think Angie might have something I feel like she might want to talk back there. So, I would like you to come up and speak maybe just a little bit on the topic.
Thank you, Commissioner Thatcher. Thank you, Ms. Mulliken, for being here. And can you add to this a little bit?
Yes, Chief Executive, Commissioner Fisher. This is a design build, so it's following the Title 18, which is a procurement law. It's following 18-2-503, which is an alternative delivery contract. What it requires and what those numbers are that you're looking at is actually averages of everybody's score. That's why they don't add up. If you looked at everybody's score that was in there, then you'd see where your averages were coming in. Now, what we're saying when we're doing a design build and why it's required to do it in this instance is because this is a specialty type of project. You can't just bid it because you have to know that your people are qualified enough to do this type of historic preservation in this case, and that the firm that you're working with can not only do the design part of it, which is looking at which windows can be rehabilitated versus which ones have to be replaced, but you also need a firm that can do the build part of it as well. So that's why you end up with a design build. That's what this is. The whole process requires that you do an RFQ first. That's the first sentence in the law. The second one says that you do an RFP off that RFQ. So whoever qualified, that's who you RFP. So this part is where we're publicly announcing who submitted on the RFP. Now, it's a fixed price contract, meaning that this will be a $500,000 contract with an extension renewal if we need to, if the best value analysis, which is also in that law, says that we have to extend it, we can. If we find that we can do all of the windows for the $500,000, then that ends the contract. It just allows us to give more professional design work over what is being constructed than would a traditional bid.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Ms. Mulliken. So I'll go to Commissioner Fortune, and then I'll go to Commissioner Fisher.
Chief Executive, I'm not sure who could answer this, but why were we presented this with the numbers? I mean, when you add them up, they're not even close. I mean, when you add these numbers up, it looks like Jackson beat everybody. But why even give us these numbers if the averages aren't there?
What I
Commissioner Fortune, Ms. Mulliken.
Sorry.
You're good.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fortune, I can send you the entire spreadsheet that shows everybody's scores, that shows you that that is an average. It's an average of everybody's score. So everybody that's listed on there, Steve Hennick did his own score sheet. Shelley Cleverly, John Sullivan, they all did their own score sheet. Those numbers that you're seeing right there are the average of those scores.
Okay. Follow-up, Commissioner Fortune.
So, Chief Executive, are these scores for who you're awarding it to, or is that just how you qualified them?
That's just how we
Yeah, Commissioner Fortune. Ms. Mulligan, go ahead.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fortune, that's how we qualified them.
Okay. Follow-up, Commissioner Fortune.
So what do you do next? I mean, that's I think where everybody's confused. I mean, if you already scored these guys, why? Well, it basically seems like we're doing this process again for.
Commissioner Fortune, Ms. Mulligan.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fortune. This part of the process is just to publicly announce who gets it. Next, what we're going to bring to you is the best value analysis. That's what is also required in this law. So now you know who contractors or what firms put in. What we're going to bring to you next, this next part of the process, is the best value analysis. That's where we're gonna take it, they're gonna take it, they're gonna look at, Kate's gonna look at historic preservation parts, John will look at the mechanical parts, I'm gonna look at the cost analysis, and I'm gonna say you're putting way too much in design, or you're not putting enough in construction or whatever, and I'm gonna score based off that. So that's how it ends up coming to you guys as a contract, is with that best value analysis.
Okay, Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Ms. Mulligan, how I'm kind of understanding it too is this didn't necessarily have to be read on council floor. This is for the sake of transparency, for an awareness to council, right? This could have been read downstairs or anything of the sort, but this is just part of this process that you elected to do up here. Is that correct?
Commissioner Thatcher, Ms. Mulligan.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Thatcher, yes ma'am, this only has to be open publicly. The reason why I choose to do it in council is because you guys have meeting minutes, you have public recordings, and it's easier to show that I had public opening.
Thank you, Ms. Mulligan. Commissioner Fortune.
I'm still lost at how the best value analysis is different than the scoring you just did on this. I mean, it seems like it's just a waste of time, and it's nothing against you. It just what you've already done. I mean, in my opinion, these three categories that you just gave us is basically you guys analyzing it. It's just adding another step that it's dumb. I'm sorry to say.
Commissioner Fortune, and I'll let Angie respond to this, or John, or Building Manager Sullivan. But I think that we haven't given them that price of what that was going to be, or what the breakdown was going to be prior to this at all. It was more just on the qualifications of it and who pre-qualified on this through the RFQ and then the RFP as they went through all of the requirements. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah, no, that's correct. I'm sorry,
yeah,
Chief
okay.
Executive Gallagher. What we're looking at in the qualifications is, do you know historic preservation? Do you have enough firm capability to do it? That's all we're really looking at with an RFQ. When it comes to the proposals, that's where we're looking at what are you going to cost us? What different parts are you going to get these from? What different subcontractors may you use? We're not looking in the RFQ for that. We're just looking to see if you're qualified to do the work.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive, once again. I understand everything's being said. I get it. I just don't know why we don't bid these out instead of doing, this best value contracting, GCCM. I've been here for 12 years, so I've seen the GCCM. I've seen the best value contracting. I've seen the union guys out here, years ago. I've seen all this take place. But it seems to me, from the public looking in, not as a commissioner, that it seems to be that we're using whatever fits best for the people wanting to do the project, whether it's best value, GCCM, or bid. In my opinion, I don't see no reason why we gotta do these other things when we've mixed and matched these together. Why don't we just bid out these projects and be done?
Commissioner Fisher, do you want to answer that, Ms. Mulligan?
Sure. Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fisher, we don't bid them because we can't design them. The reason why we do a design build is because you're meshing together both the engineering, the architecture, and the construction of them. In times that we have time to do the whole round where we're getting our design and that done, and then we take it to bid, then we can bid it. But when you're bidding, like what we did with the animal shelter, we can't change those drawings. We can't change the bid or anything. Once she's done, she's done. That's what she's getting. The difference is with the design build, we can tweak it as we need to.
Thank you, Ms. Mulligan. Follow up, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher, once again. I get it. It's just, if you bid it out, they can get their own engineer and they get their own qualifications. We're doing a lot of work here, legwork, on a $500,000 project. We're doing a lot of legwork here just to figure out what we got to do. I mean, and I'm sorry, I just don't agree with this process. I mean, I see how you're doing, and I agree, Angie, you work hard and you do a great job, and I appreciate what you do, but I just don't understand how we take these projects and just put what we want, best value or GCCM, or, you know, wouldn't it be easier, you know, if you bid it out and the contractor bid it, he could get his own engineers and his own people and visit with historic. He's got to pass the zoning laws in Butte. He's got to get through historic preservation. He's got to get the zoning permit, just like anyone else. I'm done, but I don't get it, and I'm not sure I can support this without further review. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Fortune.
And I'm just going back to it, but the $500,000 was listed, the rates were listed in the RFQ. Now we're asking basically the exact same questions, and I know they were listed because I was going to submit for this, and it was on the very first page of it that you have to assume a $500,000 budget and you have to list your labor rates. I mean, right here it says Jackson Contractor Group highest rates. I mean, you guys have already graded this, and now we're going to do this whole process again, and I can guarantee you the outcome's going to be the same. I mean, that's the reason we do these GCCMs, is so we can pick who we want to use the project. I mean, it's no secret. But it just, like Commissioner Fisher said, we've created work for ourselves for no reason. I mean, this RFP and this RFQ and how you've explained it, they're still the same thing. I mean, I know that's, they are. I mean, it just, this report that you gave us, it's so confusing. I mean, it basically tells us that the high guy, based off these numbers, didn't get the project, but now we got to do an RFP to basically do the same thing. We're doing this process twice for no reason.
Commissioner Fortune, I think Building Manager Sullivan would like to weigh in here.
Thanks, Chief Executive, Commissioner Fortune. So the qualification part of it was basically them sending in their resume, what they can do. That's the scoring sheet you see in front of us. The proposal part of it, we made a walkthrough of the courthouse mandatory, and there was a reason for that. There's not one person that has walked through and looked at these windows that have seen this style window in any of the buildings that they have done, any of them. We have very unique, which at the time were probably the highest end windows in any type of building. I'm talking capital, state capitals throughout the country. We've heard this from different people. You look at these windows behind you, they are about as unique as they can be. That's why for the proposal, we made a mandatory walkthrough so that they could see what they're getting into. The next part of that, and going to Commissioner Fisher's question, is once they see that, it'll be up to them to determine what the best way to go about replacing these windows while maintaining the historic preservation, the historic Section 106 or Form 106, the window survey, what the appearance looks like from the outside, from the glazing, the reflectivity, or the crossbars. Now that's up to them, up to the firms to tell us, and in this proposal, they should be laying out a path forward on what they anticipate this is going to look like. This is actually project specific, where the first part was the resume.
Thank you, Building Manager Sullivan. Commissioner Thatcher. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Commissioner Shea, and then it will go to you. She was there first. Sorry.
I'll allow it.
Go ahead, Commissioner Shea.
Angie, what's in the packets, in the tote?
Commissioner Shea, Ms. Mulligan.
All the proposals that were submitted.
And do they have dollar amounts in them? Or are they just the design part?
They're the proposal part of it. They should have some cost analysis in them, yes. That's a part of the RFP package, which was not requested in the RFQ.
Okay. Follow up, Commissioner Shea.
And then after tonight, you guys will open those and do your best value analysis, is that correct?
Yes,
Am I understanding that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shea. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you. I just feel like I want to make a quick point here. And obviously, I don't know much about construction, probably little at all. But I guess saying that there's no point in something, how I understand it, she's following procurement law. So that's the point, to follow the law. Is that correct, Ms. Mulligan?
Commissioner Thatcher, Ms. Mulligan.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Thatcher, yes, it's directly written that way in 18-2-503.
Thank you, Ms. Mulligan. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive. One more question. Where's the money coming? Where's the $500,000 coming from?
Commissioner Fisher, I can answer that. We're using our ARPA dollars to do that we're making sure that we're obligating prior to December 31st.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So with that, Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I would refer communication number 2024-520 to the Government Buildings Department.
We have a motion and a second to refer communication number 2024-520 to the Government Buildings Department. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
6 yea, 3 nay.
6 yea, 3 nay, motion passes. Moving on to section 2, consent agenda, A 1 through 4 and B 1 through 18. Do we have any friendly amendments and or segregations? Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I would just like to make a friendly amendment to number 3, communication number 2024-536. Instead of the amount $85,000, it should actually be $8,500. And then I would like to segregate number 18, communication number 2024-551.
Okay. That's item number 18, communication number 2024-551. And then the friendly amendment is just to change the amount from $85,000 to $8,500 on item number 3, communication number 2024-536. Are there any other segregations tonight? Seeing none, Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda, A, committee reports 1 through 4, and B, communications 1 through 18, with the exception of number 18, and with the item number 3 as amended.
We have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay. Motion 0 nay. Motion passes. Our commission meeting is not too exciting tonight. Can we move on to item number 18, communication number 2024-551. Karen Burns, Community Development Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to have Chief Executive Gallagher sign a memorandum of understanding, or MOU, between the City and County and the Government Buildings Department to obligate funds for Phase 2 of the courthouse restroom renovation project. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Director Burns and Director Hass, or maybe you both could come up here. This one just seemed a little confusing to me, and I did get somewhat of an explanation from Director Hassler, but I didn't know if some of the other council members wanted a similar explanation, or at least the general public, of why we're operating it this way and I guess how this works. So thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Thatcher. Director Burns, you're on.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher and Commissioner Thatcher, members of council. Karen Burns, Community Development Director for Butte-Silver Bow. So when looking at obligating funds, according to the SLFRF program, the coronavirus relief funds, it gets interesting in what constitutes an obligation. You know, it can be very clear that obligating funds through a contract for services or a contract for construction is a very clear obligation of those funds. Being up against, you know, timeframes to be able to commit those funds and obligate them officially to a project, we looked at some of the guidance given by the Treasury, Federal Treasury Department on these funds and their frequently asked questions that has been published as a result of different communities trying to understand how they can obligate these funds to meet the requirements of the Treasury to meet the deadline of December 31st. And so in reading those funds for our bathroom project, we knew that it was going to be very difficult for the courthouse restroom project to get under a contract for construction by that December 31st guideline and date. So we looked for an alternative way to obligate those funds. In reading those, the curriculum that was put out by the Treasury, we found that we could obligate the funds through an interagency agreement between different branches of the government. And so that is the draft MOU that we put together. It was reviewed by our county attorney's office. And we're obligating funds between two agencies of the government. The example given in the Treasury publication was that the chief executive obligated funds through an MOU to their public safety office. And so we used that example to draft this MOU to obligate the funds between the chief executive and the government buildings department to be able to move this bathroom project forward with an official obligation of the funds. And so that is, I know it's a little bit different and it is a little bit confusing, but we wanted to make sure we met that obligation so then we can now move forward with getting the design and the bid documents completed and get that work started as soon as possible this winter. But we knew that we would have a really hard time meeting that December 31st, so we thought we better get something in place that obligates. So I just talked a whole bunch, but I don't know if Karen wants to add.
Thank you, Director Burns. Did that cover it? Okay. Did that? Okay. Any other questions of commissioners? Commissioner Fortune.
Have you guys decided if you're going to bid it or do a GCCM?
Do I have to answer?
Commissioner Fortune, Director Burns, I believe that our intent was still to continue on with the GCCM. We had worked with SMA through, and they'd gone through most of the documentation on this and have did the work on it out there before. But Director Burns, if you'd like to add into that,
Sorry, Chief Executive Gallagher, members of council, Commissioner Fortune. I don't think we'd make that total decision yet.
Right.
I think we're having a meeting here in the next week or so to look at that. We have a proposal from SMA in front of us right now that will be coming to you for a contract for services for their further design services to get us to bid documents or, GCCM process. And so that will be before you soon and for the discussion of this body.
Commissioner Fortune.
Chief Executive, I got a couple questions, but my first question on this, on what you provided, like with this budget, why do we have a 20% contingency when we just did the project and have a pretty good idea of what we're going to uncover?
Commissioner Fortune, Director Burns. Commissioner Fortune, I'm unclear of that either. So where was that at?
Just on the budgets that it looks like Lang listed this budget, but the budget that was provided, it was the same as on the first floor, but there's 20% fees for contingency, and then there's like 20% overhead and profit and stuff when you add all these up. But I mean, it seems, and obviously it's probably not the right place to ask it now, but if we just did basically the same project, I mean, why do we have 20% contingencies into this cost?
Commissioner Fortune, Director Burns.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fortune, members of council. The estimate that was provided as an attachment to the MOU is our estimates that we currently have as part of the design and engineering of the entire bathroom project. We're just using that as our next piece to be able to move this forward. I attached it for clarification of the budget amount that was asked for in the MOU. Not necessarily into the minutia of would we actually have a 20% contingency if we were to bid this out. That's not what this is about.
Right, that could change. Thank you, Director Burns. Very good. Commissioner Fortune.
Chief Executive, my last question on the first floor bathrooms, didn't we use this exact same budget and use up all the contingency money?
Commissioner Fortune, I believe that we did. I think there were some changes made throughout in that with some of the ventilation and some of the things that went on with that. I don't know if building manager Sullivan, he kind of remembers. I think that we had some changes that went on with the first floor bathrooms.
Chief Executive, Commissioners. So that's correct. When we were going through, there was an additional, I guess, an addendum where we ended up doing bathroom ventilation for all the bathrooms, all the restrooms in the facility, not just the new bathrooms. And that's where the contingency money went to, I believe. That's correct.
Thank you, Building Manager Sullivan. So that was my recollection as well, is that that's where that money went to, that the contingency wasn't eaten up otherwise on, changes other than the changes we made. Commissioner Fortune.
Chief Executive, just my last comment, but because I'll probably be gone for this one, but I hope it goes out to bid, and I hope it gets advertised everywhere instead of just one place. I hope that all the mistakes from our last restroom project are corrected on this one.
Thank you, Commissioner Fortune, and we have recognized your input on this, and we'll make sure that we go through the process to make it out there for everybody. All right. Any other questions? Commissioner Thatcher. Oh.
Thank you. I don't have a question. I was going to make a motion if nobody else had a question, but if Commissioner Reardon does.
Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you.
Go first.
I just want to give a comment here, is the fact I think that, with this 18.2 state amendment and all that, and we have already previously approved the first phase of this bathroom scenario and all that, is the fact in that I get, putting it out for bid, we're kind of like halfway across the lake and then somebody new comes in and stuff like that. I really understand that too. But I think what the overall deal is the confusion of, we've had, discussion on your scenario and all that stuff, is maybe, I too struggle with it, but the thing about it is the work seems to get done, and it seems to get done right. And we're not up here questioning. Well, we are questioning, but the thing about it is that it seems like once we get it handled and all that, things move along pretty good. But we don't come up here and we don't sit here and all that. But these are questions that people ask us, and there's a lot of people out there that watch these meetings and things like that. So I think that, the educational process, I think, would be, referring to the 18.2, I think we went through this with the bathrooms. And, everything seemed to work out. And I think it's more confusing than it is practical, and maybe practical because of the amount of money. But, it's, I guess, maybe from our era, is the fact that this stuff was always put out for bid. And with this 18.2, it's kind of hard to see that change, you know. So I just wanted to kind of summarize what I was thinking, which is always really goofy anyway. But I think there's, you know, most of the people are confused that ask these questions of us and all that. So just kind of be understanding what the pressure we're under too. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reardon. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Thank you. Thank you, Karens, both of you, thank you. At this time, I'd like to concur and place on file communication number 2024-551.
We have a motion and a second to concur and place on file communication number 2024-551. Is there anything on the question? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
7 yea, 2 nay.
7 yea, 2 nay, motion passes. Moving on to section 3, ordinances and resolution introduced to judiciary. We do have one, resolution number 2024-5-59. Moving on to section 4, ordinances and resolution for second reading. We have one tonight, Council Bill number 2024-06. Clerk, please read the caption.
An ordinance establishing a new chapter of Butte-Silver Bow Municipal Code B/SB MC to be numbered 12.21 and to be entitled ADA Ramp Encroachment Permit and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I would make a motion to move Council Bill 2024-06, ordinance number 2024-06, to second reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion and a second moving Council Bill number 2024-06 and ordinance number 2024-06 to second reading. Is there anything on the question? Could Commissioners? Bless you. And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yea, 0 nay. Motion passes. Moving on to calendar and other meeting events, please note all the dates and times of the meetings that are coming up. And next, I'll move to any public comment on any item that is not on the agenda tonight. If you'd like to speak on any item not on the agenda, come forward and state your name, address. Seeing none, I would take a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by aye. Opposed?